Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you may be in the world. This is Thoughtful Nuggets and Pearls on Gift of Healing TV. I'm Sarah Jane, and as you can see, as much as it was going to be just me, Jackie's joined me again this week. Jackie, thank you very much and welcome.
Thank you so much. Well, it was on procrastination, and I'm the queen of procrastination, so I thought it was just worth coming on.
Do you know what? The truth of the matter is, I think we're all really good at it, and it's something we just have to stop doing. And a couple of things actually cropped up, sort of sayings and things on Twitter today. So I'm actually going to start with one of these. And this was actually shared by Roy T. Bennett. We have to be honest about what we want and take risks rather than lie to ourselves and make excuses to stay in our comfort zone. And isn't that just what we do? We come up with all sorts of excuses as to why not to do things. And then it is totally self-sabotaging our own lives, isn't it?
I agree with you totally. I mean, I think back to, I always remember a story, and I might have said it before on here, that I heard when I was doing my training, and it was an old couple sat on their stoop out in like the Midwest or something like that. And they're in their rocking chairs, and their dog's on the floor in front of them on the wooden stoop. And stranger comes up, and the dog keeps moaning. And in the end, the stranger goes, what is it with the dog? And it's just, well, he's lying on a nail and he's uncomfortable. And the stranger goes, well, why doesn't he move? It's, well, he's not uncomfortable enough yet. And I think that's what it can be with procrastination, is we do stay in our comfort zone. What's comfortable for us? What are we almost happily unhappy about? Yeah. Or uncomfortable with. And it's only when something happens that we feel that frustration or that bit fed up that we then have that courage to do that and to stop procrastinating. And then we're usually a bit like we've got a rocket up our whatevers, and then we sort of like just go for it. Whereas if you take one tiny step each day, that's the compound effect. You soon look back and you've come a huge way. So and I can't talk, procrastination, mine's through anxiety and nerves and everything else, fear of looking silly, getting something wrong and everything else. So I'm making up an excuse in a way. It's my reason, but it is an excuse. Is I'm scared of looking foolish or silly and whatever else, the anxiety overcomes. And so because I'm not uncomfortable enough, I stay in that comfort zone. Yeah. And I procrastinate.
Yeah. But then, as I was saying to a friend, I had a long conversation with this afternoon, and I sort of said to her, because she was going on about judgment and going on about this fear of looking silly. And so she said, and she was telling about sort of not judging. And I said, you shouldn't judge anyone. You shouldn't judge other people. You shouldn't judge yourself, because the truth of the matter is we can only act on the information we have at that point in time, and with our best intentions act on that information. Having made that action, if it's never wrong, it is the next step, and we will learn more from it. Now, it doesn't matter what other people say. We have acted within the knowledge we have at that point in time. Yeah. So there's no point in sitting on the fence. You aren't going to get the knowledge, the next step of knowledge you need, until you take the step. Yeah. And then it's like, okay, if this ever happens again, I know that won't be what I will do. But we have to have, as it says here, it is being honest and taking risks. We have to have the courage to take the step.
I massively hear what you're saying, and I've got to be honest that, and I use the same terminology that you've just used. We have to, or we should. And when people say we have to, my back is instantly up.
Yes.
And I'm like, don't you tell me what I have to do. And I'm going to do the opposite, because to be quite honest, I spent too much of my life in my childhood, and actually a lot of my adult years, being told exactly what I had to do, and I should do this and I should do that. And I'd be letting people down if I didn't do this, and being emotionally blackmailed into doing things. That now, if somebody says to me, would it feel better if you did this? Or do you think you'd be happier if you did this? Or would you feel more confident if you did that? Now, when people word it in that type of wording, asking me how I think I'd feel if I did something differently, then I tend to take more notice. But when I'm told I have to, but it is again, it's this language that we were brought up with. We were brought up with the language of you should do this, you have to do that. And I just instantly, my ears go, I stop listening to the content and my ears just go, well, I'll be blowed if I'm doing that then. And that in a way is another form of procrastination, because I'm aware that it is only words that have brought that reaction onto me. So the only reason I bring it up is because I felt my body doing the same again just now. And I'm like, hang on a minute. It's the logical thing to do. But if I feel like I'm being told, so is the procrastination that each of us struggles with, and the majority of us do struggle with it in one, whether it's the washing up, or getting up to make a cup of tea, or doing something like that, or something big to do with a work project,
getting out of bed,
or making a phone call to connect with somebody you haven't spoken to for a long time. Is it that it's not that we're so much procrastinating on it because we don't want to do something, but because in our own heads we're using the wrong language? We're telling us we should do that, we have to do that. Is it that actually we would benefit from changing the language of our own thoughts that would help us to be more encouraged to do something? And I'm throwing that out there right here and now in this moment. It's a question that is just literally coming up in this moment.
Yeah. And absolutely brilliant. And 100%. People tell me what to do. Absolutely. Back goes up. That is the last thing I'm going to do. Yeah. And so I am going to apologize for using that terminology, because absolutely it is a terminology I hate. And when I'm working with clients, I make suggestions, and it's, do you know what? Do with it what you like. If you feel like using it, if you feel like binning it, it doesn't matter. I am making suggestions from things that have worked for me. And it is also, you know, it is both Jackie and I listening to what we are saying too. Yeah. This isn't, we are sharing this for everybody who chooses to watch this. But we are also sharing this as a reminder to ourselves. You know, we aren't sharing this because we are perfect. But actually, do you know what? Everything that we do is perfection. The saying, everything in divine and perfect order. But we can move things along if we choose to.
Yeah.
And so it is a matter of, don't be put off by what other people say. My suggestion is, don't be afraid of what other people may say to you, may think of you, because that is their stuff. And it is helping us to, so yes, as you said, Jackie, reword it. Don't take those words. Somebody uses the word healer to me, and I really am not. People use the word of service. I know I'm here to help people, but I really, really object to that word service. Because of being a waitress as a child and various other things that really, I said, hang on a minute, I'm here to help people to help themselves. I am not here to do things for people.
And yeah, I love the word. I love the thought of being of service to somebody, of giving without any, to me, being of service is I'm giving without any expectation of getting anything in return. I am just giving. And that's the definition of the way it feels to me. So it's a really interesting one. I'm trying to think, you were saying something just now, and you know, we're definitely not perfect. And I think the beauty is, I'm so pleased that just now, Sarah, that you did use the terminology that you used.
Yeah.
Because I was actually sat here and I try in life, I don't get it right all the time. I try to be here and now. When I'm having a conversation with somebody, I'm trying to be in the here and now with them, and actually feeling what's going on and being more aware of how things do. Because if we misunderstand something, sometimes it can lead to these struggles within communication, which can lead to procrastination, which is what this is about. So I'm trying to be more aware of what goes on within my body when I'm talking with somebody. And if I'm picking up on something that feels negative, hey, if something feels really great, I'm not going to pick up on it. I'm not going to question it and challenge it because it's doing my life good, you know? But if something doesn't feel quite right, I'm picking up, what is it? And it's not because it's what the other person said, it's because of the way that I'm interpreting it. So it's my responsibility. It's not the responsibility of somebody else. And I think that's a really huge one. What anybody says to you is their business. It's their thing. How we hear it is our thing.
Yeah.
And I always remember somebody saying to me, you honestly think people go away and think about you? You know, when I'd say I'm worried that they're going to go away and think I was stupid or silly or, you know, whatever else. And somebody said to me, you honestly think people go away and think about you? And I was like, well, yeah. And they're like, how often do you go away and think about other people? You're too busy with what's going on in your life to think about them.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, that's very true. Because the only time that I think about somebody is actually when I think I've made a mistake. No, hang on. Let's rephrase that. It's not the only time I think about somebody, but it with something that leaves me feeling a bit negative inside is because I think, have I worded something wrong? Have I made a mistake? Have I this, that, and the other? And so I'm therefore berating myself for maybe having made a mistake. I'm not really thinking about the other person, unless they've just cut me up and they've done something silly in the car and they nearly caused an accident. And then I'm thinking what a wallaby they are. And I might think about them for a little while. But yeah, and to be quite honest, I never knew them in the first place, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and that's just it. That was one of my biggest enlightenments because of through my insecurities, and that's just it, isn't it? It's your insecurities that create the procrastination, which sabotage your own life. It's that little voice in your head that says you're not good enough, you're not lovable, you're not worthy, you're sort of you can't get anything right, you're useless at everything, etc. It doesn't matter what the terminology, that negative terminology that stops you. And in fact, I know this was the one I picked up, Jeffrey Gitomer, but I think the wording of the one you picked up of his is fractionally better, because this is another tweet I read today, but this is one Jackie's come up with when we were talking before.
I went on Jeffrey's page, and it says obstacles can't stop you, problems can't stop you, only you can stop you. And I thought that was really, really good. Sorry, there was a bit of feedback then for a minute, which is why I was hesitating.
Yeah.
But I think there's something else to do with procrastination. And sometimes we are just being lazy. Let's be honest. So why not? And when we've been lazy, we feel guilty afterwards. So why not give yourself permission to take an hour off, an afternoon off, or a day off, and give yourself permission to do nothing, or go for a walk, or listen to some music, or do some baking, or whatever it is you want to do instead of what you're meant to be doing. And so actually stick it in your diary. Even if it's in that moment, stick it in your diary. You're having this number of hours off, or this afternoon off, but then at this time, you are going to do this thing. Yeah. And so actually put it in your diary as something that you're going to do, and take your time off and enjoy it. Don't feel guilty, because you've given yourself permission to do that. And I think sometimes this is it. We don't give ourselves permission to relax. So give yourself permission to relax, give yourself permission to be lazy, to watch the television, to watch the football, to whatever it is, and then have scheduled in what you're going to do. And there's a wonderful lady, I can't remember her name. Oh my goodness. She has a thing called, instead of, if you're going to do something, it's like 1, 2, 3, do it, or whatever else. She says 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's the 5-second rule. if you're going to do something, do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get up and do it. And it's a bit like the counting down for a space rocket going off. And if you think about that, when that space rocket, they're having that countdown, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off. And it's actually more motivating than 1, 2, 3, do it, or 3, 2, 1, or whatever else. There's actually almost a subconscious bit to it as well. And in fact, I've actually got a little sticker on my computer in front of me, because I, as I said, a queen of procrastination, that says 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And somebody said to me, "That's not your code, is it?" And I went, they were just like, "You don't put your password on your computer, do you?" I'm like, no, it is a subliminal, and I've got it on my fridge as well, and whatever else. And Mel Robbins, she's called. Oh, absolutely fantastic, brilliant book, well worth getting the book, The 5-Second Rule. Really good if you get it in the Audible book. Fantastic. It is so much about, you know, procrastination and doing those things. And another amazing book is, oh, I can't remember the author. Eat That Frog. Brian Tracy, I think it is. Eat That Frog. So it's do that thing that you don't want to do first.
Yeah.
Get that done.
Yeah.
Do it first. So it might be that when I was saying just now, schedule in your time off. Maybe do that thing first, and then you schedule in your time off. As soon as I've done that, I can have the rest of the afternoon off. As soon as I've done that, give yourself permission to take that time off and be lazy every now and again, or have a relaxing time. However you want to word it. You might not like the word lazy, but give yourself permission to have some time just for you. Sarah,
but I think it's the you time. It is absolutely me time. It is really important to have the me time. But there are times when you get things through, like an email. In the old days, it was a letter.
Yeah.
And it's more than one question. And you know it's going to take you a while to sit down and answer it.
Yeah.
And so the procrastination there comes in. It's just like, oh, I don't know whether I've got time to do that now. You really wish, and when I email people, I try not to put more than one thing in it. But there are times when you have to put more than one in. And I think our mother is, bless her, we do love her, honestly, we do. But sometimes she doesn't answer if you put one question in. And if you try putting more than one question in, you definitely don't get an answer. And you think, Mummy, we do wish you'd answer us sometimes.
Yeah.
It would be good to have an answer. And I've only put one question in.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, she sends one email and she's got 3 daughters that answer her and a son-in-law that answers her as well. So she gets 4 replies.
But she doesn't, bless her heart. And but we are, I think we are all guilty of that. I know I am. It's something comes through and it's not 100% clear what it is, and it's going to take concentration. Yeah. And when I send things out, I try to put it as clearly as possible. Now, it may not be as clear to them as it is to me, but it's like, sort of recently there's been somebody's introduced me to a website with something, and I went on it and I did the first bit, and I was thinking, where do I go from here? I couldn't find the logical next move. And I don't think I'm an illogical person. And I like looking for something that it's self-explanatory and logical, and the next button to click, and it wasn't there. And I've had an email back from them, and it's just like, technology blows me, and it blows me totally out the water. It stresses me out at times. You know, I know people turn around to me and say, I'm really good, I'm really patient, and all the rest of it with things. But when it comes to certain things, I am not so good, and I accept it. And it's why I then procrastinate about technology. It's, I really don't want to look at that because it scares me. Once I've got the hang of it, I'm fine.
Haven't you hit the nail on the head? It scares me.
Yeah.
You know, is that some of it, the procrastination? It scares me. I'm not too sure. It's the first time I've done something. It's something I don't feel comfortable with. You know, and again, it scares me. And there are these fears. The longest I did a procrastination thing over that scare thing, just like you described, Sarah, was nearly a year. Years ago, when I had my first PayPal account, one of the things you had to do to verify your bank account was they'd put a penny in your account, and you had to then go and you had to get 4 digits from this transaction to bring it back, to put in their website that then confirmed it really was your bank account. I did not understand their instructions. I'm dyslexic. I don't understand. And I felt massively silly. I tried one phone call and somebody had said, it's just this blah, 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 blah. And they'd lost me. Nearly a year later, I made a phone call again. And I said, I'm so sorry. I feel so silly, so ditzy. That's my word I use about me. And she explained it to me. I went and I found it. And it was so easy.
Yeah.
But I needed to have the courage to make the phone call and admit I couldn't do it. I didn't know what I was looking for. But actually, they're an amazingly big company. And had they put screenshots with the explanations of where things would be and whatever else, and little arrows, and it's so easy to do now, that would have answered my question. But because they know their service inside out, they don't think about the actual steps that people need to do or what people are going to see. Or because they update their websites, they can't be bothered to renew those elements of it, you know. And it's I'm the same, Sarah, you know. I mean, I look at what you do technology wise, and you're remarkable what you do. So you may say that, but what you know, you do massively well, you know. And it's just the unknown, and technology is moving on so quickly that it's scary. I now have my son telling me or explaining to me how to use my iPhone, and I used to laugh when my mother needed help and stuff like that. But technology has gone on way past me, and I'm going to procrastinate when it comes to driverless cars. Just let me tell you that now. There is no way I want to ever get in a driverless car. It scares me silly, the thought of. And when these cars, they reverse into car parking spaces. I feel old. That technology, I'm fine at parking the car myself. Thank you very much. No, I will procrastinate there.
But I think that, are you missing opportunities because you are too focused on obstacles? So this is Jeffrey Gittamore. Yeah. And I think that's just it. The obstacle to me is new technology. Yeah. The obstacle to me is, oh God, I've got to really concentrate to go through whatever that is. I think was it actually more the end of last year? I can't remember, when we needed to sort out the hosting for our websites, Jackie.
Earlier this year.
Oh, was it earlier this year? Yeah, it was earlier this year. And I'd been putting off doing things. And I eventually went back to Jackie and we sorted it out. And actually, we sorted it out really well. Our procrastination actually meant we ended up, I think, a lot better off with things a lot easier. So sometimes the stalling, but actually, if only I'd have had the sense to try it earlier, but I'd left it so late to try something. I went to her and said, Jackie, it's got to be easier if we stay exactly where we are. And you were able to get a really good deal. And that's
we didn't stay where we were. We moved our hosting.
Oh, yeah, we did, didn't we?
Yeah, we actually moved our hosting because where we were with our hosting, they were wanting ridiculous money.
Yeah.
And so we changed our hosting from an American company to a British company.
Yeah.
And they have been so good, you know, they really have. And they were less than a quarter of the price.
Yeah.
But paying for 3 years up front.
Yeah. But okay, in that respect, procrastination actually worked for us.
Yeah.
It really did.
And you being nervous about it worked because actually it meant that we looked into it far deeper.
Yeah.
Because we wanted to make sure that we were doing the right thing. Procrastination can sometimes be one of the best things. You know, procrastination, but I think it's about finding what works for you. It's not me there going, hey, it's absolutely fine, procrastinate over everything. But work out what works for you in your life. And instead of it being a negative word, what is it? Is it that there's just still something missing? You don't quite know what it is. Something doesn't feel quite right yet. And quite often you find that if you procrastinate over something, you suddenly hear something or something crops up and you think, that's what I was missing. That was what I was looking for. And actually, this is now way better than if I had taken action in that moment. So there are times, and I think it's about trusting that. And instead of being negative with yourself and having negative thought emotions about what you're doing and the procrastination. I mean, obviously there are times when it takes nearly a year to make a phone call to PayPal. That maybe is a little bit over the top. I admit that. So I think there's a time and a place. But actually, when you can accept that, is the procrastination that you think you're doing because somebody else is making you think that you're procrastinating because you don't think you're living up to somebody else? Is it because you're not feeling comfortable? You know, what is it? Get to know yourself. Get to know what your body feels. Get to know when you really are procrastinating, and get to know when actually something just isn't quite feeling right. And that might sound a bit Fruit Loopish. And I remember somebody saying to me, you know, oh, it's amazing when you feel like you're walking in your own shoes. Because you hear that quote about, you know, walk a mile in somebody else's shoes before you judge. And I think that judgment one, Sarah, would be a really good show to have, because I think that's a really huge one. You mentioned judgment earlier. And I think I actually feel comfortable in my own skin now. Maybe not 100%, but way more than I ever did before. And it is such a lovely feeling. I'm not quite there, and I do still struggle with anxiety, and I struggle with other bits and pieces as well. But actually, I'm starting to embrace them as part of who I am, rather than thinking I shouldn't have those qualities. It's just part of who I am. So I would say just be kind on yourself, you know, and if that was the wrong wording, find the wording that makes you feel happy to be kind with yourself or whatever else, you know, because it might be the wrong wording for somebody else. That's all it is.
I think it's okay. We refer to obstacles. We've heard that word several times in this nearly half an hour. And it is an obstacle, but it isn't something that isn't surmountable. You can go over it, you can go round it, you can go under it.
Yeah.
And sometimes
you say no.
You know, it is so it is there, and it may be trying to redirect you. And I think the obstacle of the fear of, you know, the uncertainty of technology actually then redirected us, and it was brilliant. Sometimes when you need to, I sometimes read long emails and I think, and sometimes they, and it's just like, I have to go away, then I can come back and read them again. Not everything should be dealt with instantly. In fact, dealing with some things that make you feel stressed instantly can be the worst thing that you can do. It isn't about procrastinating. It's about giving yourself a chance to think, to feel, and to be true in your answers to yourself.
Yeah.
So not everything that people may call a procrastination is. It is about self-preservation sometimes.
To be quite honest, that's another good one for another show, Sarah. Is self-preservation, is that judgment is one, and self-preservation, and actually, you know, that being true to yourself, you know. I just think how much do we live our lives based on what we think other people expect from us? And sometimes that creates what we think is procrastination. Sometimes it creates so much pressure on us with something that actually just does not feel right for us to do. You know, if your procrastination is the fact that you don't want to jump off that cliff because you've been told you've got to by somebody, well, I'm sorry, your procrastination is exactly right.
Yes.
You know, have you got the safety lines on you? Have you everything else? You know, there are times when the procrastination is actually there to keep you safe and everything else. So I think it's a really big subject, and it can be one that people can be, or we can feel we're being judged on.
Yeah, absolutely.
But be true to yourself.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I think if you go back to the Thoughtful Nuggets and Pearls page, I have that feeling I've done something on judgment. I think I've done something about thinking about yourself and it's not selfish. it can be covered again in different formats.
Yeah.
But do go, because do go to the website and check it out. If there's anything you feel, hopefully I've tried to keep the titles short and to the point, so that, and I am not telling you to do this. I am making a suggestion. So the do go to is actually a suggestion. It is not a you've got to. Because at the end of the day, you haven't got to do anything you don't want to do.
Yeah. Oh, very definitely. And I think, actually, I do think it's a good suggestion. I think if somebody's feeling a bit low or they're not too sure which way to turn, I've got this saying in life: if I hear something once, that's fine.
Yeah.
If I hear it twice, sit up and take notice. And if I hear it 3 times, do something about it. And that might be hear it, see an article in the newspaper, hear it on the radio, see it on the television, have it said in a conversation, see it on a poster as you're going past on a bus or whatever else. It's all those types of things, something cropping up in your life a few times over a short space of time. And I find that works really well. And it could be that there's something there on Gift of Healing TV, or even on another website, whatever, that you find something that helps you. And I think the thoughtful nuggets and pearls are there just to help people, or help anybody, to think in a slightly different way. And actually, if you have a real feeling of something that we've said you disagree with, then that is absolutely brilliant as well, because there's something there for you to uncover and discover, and we'd love to hear from you. It would be great. And I think that, there's opportunities for some really good conversations and everything else to come out. And I think that's what we want people to do. Start having the conversations, start thinking differently. If something's not feeling quite in tune in your life, then we're just these thoughtful nuggets and pearls to try and help to uncover what that is and help it to be better. We don't know it all. There are some things that you're going to know way more than we do. And that's fab. And we'd love to hear from you. Give us a new perspective.
Yeah, because we are all different. What's right for me isn't right for Jackie. What's right for Jackie isn't right for our other sister Katie, isn't right for you. We have to be our individual selves. Jackie and I have huge similarities, but there are definitely things, as we said with that word service, that we couldn't be more poles apart if we tried. So absolutely. Jackie, thank you so much. I hope this has spoken to folks. Next, the Thoughtful Nuggets and Pearls will be back 3rd of January with Jackie again, because we're trying to decide on a title, something like to do with banishing the blues, because January is not a good month for a lot of people. So it's just adding some sunshine into your life, finding ways of helping life to be a bit easier. And the program will be as the program is, but that will be in January. Next week, I am going to be sharing a meditation, Recharge from Within. And then the following week, I'm going to be sharing a sound bath. Shares light language sound bath. So I have no idea what's coming with that one. But that's going to be between Christmas and New Year. So the meditation next week. And as they still haven't given me what the meditation is going to be at the moment, so we'll wait and see what happens. Because I love the fact that I channel this stuff and I just allow what comes through. And I think that's exactly what we do with the conversation. And the other suggestion: look at Twitter, look at Facebook, look at LinkedIn, look at Pinterest, or whatever the other things are, and look at some of the inspirational little bits that come up, because this is where the 2 I've picked up today, because of the program tonight. And it will be amazing if there is something that's coming at you, and you will suddenly find lots of these little bits of inspiration, all on a similar theme, coming at you. And it helps me loads to see these bits of inspiration. I love it. LinkedIn has got so much of it. Obviously, the people I've connected with are on so many of them are on a similar wavelength, and the inspiration that gets shared there is wonderful. And you get loads of it on Facebook, and you do get loads of it on Twitter as well. It's brilliant to see how much inspiration is being shared that can help us prevent ourselves from holding ourselves back, because that is all procrastination is. It is us holding ourselves back. Jackie, any final words?
I agree. It is us holding ourselves back. And sometimes it's just the fact we didn't give ourselves permission to take some time out.
Yeah.
And it's okay to. And it's not procrastination. It's actually you're allowed to have time for yourself. And that's okay. You don't have to be doing something 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and fulfilling everybody else's needs rather than your own. Yeah. So sometimes it's not procrastination. Sometimes it's self-preservation.
Recharging your own batteries.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe that's what the title should be in January.
Recharge your batteries.
Recharging your own batteries, yeah.
May I? That's right. That.
People might take it that it's all those Christmas toys that needed all the batteries for the children. They might misunderstand that one. Yeah, that could be a giggle.
Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, folks. I hope you will join us again for meditations, more thoughtful nuggets and pearls and sound baths, etc., and more interviews, etc., as they come along. Thank you for joining us this evening. Love, peace, and light to you all. Namaste.